looking at the whole of Europe, I would say there are some interesting opportunities in Central and Eastern Europe, mainly maybe in Poland and the Czech Republic. That's where we're trying to build up our mind. I still like Ireland, although I've said this a year ago, and I think a year ago it was a better story than it is today. But I still think that there are some areas in the Irish market, especially in the Dublin Resi area, I still think there are opportunities out there, although Kennedy Wilson now has a clear monopoly on the market. In this sense, there still is place for one or two other doing a similar strategy. And I think residential, everybody is talking about, but not much is happening across Europe so far. Also, when we talk to UK institutions, everybody here is, or at least was talking the last month about residential. The question is, will that really be a story? So when you go for it, it's more or less you have to build a stock, and then so it's more built to rent. That can be a story from my point of view, if you have the location and then have the confidence from some of the investors you're going with. So residential, from my point of view, in selected European markets will be on the agenda for a lot of investors again. Although, from my point of view, you have to look more on the value add part of the residential area, just to be on the return, on the safe side if interest rates really go up, not to end up with something that is yield-wise not very attractive. So I think that's a general thing. But the Mediterranean countries, I think, is one of the areas you have to take a very close look at. If you're confident from the asset management side, you can really go for these countries. Might it be Spain, Italy, or even Portugal? The 100% core investors are not back yet, but I think the time frame for a little bit of high return investment in these areas are closing.
When you decide not to do something, that does not mean that you find it not attractive or too much risk. It's just a question of focusing your resources or having a good idea of what your owners, your shareholders want. And so that is actually our case, that we don't have any lending limit for Spain or Italy. It does not mean that it's not an attractive market, actually. And it is an attractive market, by the way, I think personally. And we will, of course, look at this, but not this year or next year, let's say. No, but you summed it up pretty well, actually. And regarding the residential, I think there's a clear trend in a lot of European countries, especially, towards urbanization, people leaving the countryside, moving to the cities. We spoke about that one before. In Stockholm, you have, let's say, 2-3% growth rate every year, and there are thousands of people coming every month, and without having a place to live, actually. And so there's a huge market potential there. And generally speaking, it always depends, and this is actually what I was starting with. It depends on what perspective you take. The Chinese investors, they have a complete different view, I guess. I mean, you confirm that, but they don't look at Hamburg or Frankfurt or Berlin or Munich or Stuttgart or Düsseldorf. No, they look at London. That is a place. They look at Paris. We have seen them in Brussels. That's a different approach, let's say. So market parameters, yield expectations. I mean, our classical things maybe are not applying so much to them, and so what we will see is a whole variety of profiles, of investment profiles, and everybody is taking a different approach to this. But the general trend will be that core will be sold out pretty soon, I say, and so the need to develop, to get creative, to go to regional cities. And so when you ask me what is the thing where we should have a look at or allocate more, let's say, that is everything that is not so big today, like regional cities in countries that have good fundamentals, like Poland, and also some of the Western European countries. In Germany, the cities will, I mean, it has always been a more or less flat curve. My prediction is it will just stay like that, which is actually a good thing, and it was regarded as a high value in the crisis, and as a fundamental, there will always be a fundamental allocation of resources to that. But you will hardly find really opportunistic deals looking from outside. Of course, inside Germany you have a lot of opportunistic proposals, let's say. But you need of course local and inside knowledge on this. So basically, we will see a continuously diversified investment spectrum. The market players will need to allocate resources to what they do and deliberately decide what they don't do, unless you're very opportunistic, like you say. That's our view on the world, actually, going forward. And again, with this uncertainty, still quite optimistic, actually.